So, Dad,
Yeah.
with all this electricity
Yeah.
that you're pulling in from these panels,
Yes.
how does it connect and run down to your
Well,
battery banks?
you have to have wiring. As you can see in the back here, all these interconnect. And it's on a swivel. I use basically galvanized tubing, and I used the galvanized because it's going to be a little bit more rust proof. Don't have to paint it. And basically what I did is I used muffler clamps to attach some of the cross structure of the unistrut. I used inch 7/8.
You always fill that water up with the refrigerator.
So here we are down in the dungeon.
Yes, and this
Yeah.
is the battery bank?
Yeah, that's the gizmo.
Okay, so
That's everything, pretty much.
what kind of batteries do you have in there?
12 volt deep cycle batteries. They're the glass type matted batteries, and they're designed specifically for longer term storage, deeper cycling. You and I discussed cycling of batteries, and we'll get into it a little bit here. But let's open it up, and we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay, now this is the setup that I put together so far. Being that we don't have enough sunshine, these are the winter months. This is January. I use a battery charger maintainer to maintain the charge on the battery so they don't go dead. And let's take a quick look at some of the components. I have some lights here, and here's the charger. Got that at Home Depot. It's a Black & Decker, 15 amps. It's doing the job so far. I've had it hooked up about a month and a half now. And what I do is I cycle it via a timer to come on between the hours of midnight and 7 in the morning. So what I'm doing here is, I have several inverters. Okay, the inverters are used to change the DC power into AC power. Here we have one of them right here. All right, and this is an experiment that's going on right now. It's fused, it's temporarily connected, and I do have some temporary extension cords running to certain circuits in the house. And I'm going to put exterior lights on this or something similar to this. This is a 300 watt inverter, and I'm using LED lights, and I think the total wattage for my lights, exterior and interior, is going to be it's going to be around 75 watts, maybe 100 watts. It all depends on where I decide to go with this. But like I said, this is an experiment. Okay, over here, we're going to take a look at the wiring coming in, and explain a couple different pieces of equipment that are in place. And let's set up so we can take a look at the combiner, the fuse combiner box. Okay, where we bring those circuits, two circuits that we looked at outside from the solar panels, and we bring it into the house. We add some safeties to it, and we send it down to the batteries, charge the batteries. Excuse me. And as you can see, here's another one, another experiment. If I can find it. Really elementary here, but this is nothing more than a plug-in 70-watt inverter. It's a Radio Shack. Had this for years, and this takes care, right now it takes care of these two lights, and it's connected up with a automotive style electrical connector, what they use in cigarette lighters in an automotive, in a car. Okay.
So I have a question.
Sure.
How much electricity does this collect?
Well, I have a total accumulated with the 6 batteries that are in there, 500 and some watt amp hours. Okay, that's how you rate your batteries. They're in amp hours, what they can produce for you once charged. Alright, I can do around 500 total, 500 amp hours. But you can't discharge your batteries but at the most halfway. So you're going to divide that in half and you're going to have 250 amp hours. Now, you take whatever your load's going to be, like your LED lights. Right now it's 30 watts at, I think it's like 3 amps. Might be slightly, I mean, as far as amperage goes, that's the max. And anywhere from, depending on what lights I use, it's very small. And I didn't see the use of having, I have a 5,000 watt inverter that I can run my refrigerator and freezer on, and enough power to run those for at least 24 hours. So if the power goes out, you know, I have at least a little bit of backup for medications and food.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get a shot over here. Turn it off. Okay, this is the fuse box, the breaker box for the AC side of the system. What I'm doing is I'm going to have 2 different distinct circuits. This is hooked up like semi-permanent fashion right now with that extension cord which was adapted to the system here. It will be running hardwired. Maybe I won't. You know, this is just a temporary thing. It can last a number of years, but it's what I had the money for. This is what the safeties I had to put in, and I try and make it work. Here you see the box where it comes out of the combiner box, and it goes out. Okay, and it comes down, and then it comes in through the box, and it's connected to the batteries. That charges up the batteries. This is our charge controller right here. It's an 80 amp. I can't remember the company I bought it off of, but I was looking at having to buy extra meters for, you know, to measure the voltage and the amperage. But this is kind of like does that for me. It has that format. There's some kind of program chip in there that shows what my amperage is coming in from the panels. It shows the voltage at which it's coming in, and it also shows out. It shows what I'm putting out, and at night it'll the way it's hooked up, it shows me what the voltage is of the batteries. So this has worked out rather well. It's PWM, pulse width modulation. There's all kinds of argument about like what's better. I had a MPPT on there, and I had to have it replaced. It burned out because there was apparently no way for if the input voltage from the panels raised above a certain point, I think it went bad. It went dead. But it lasted like three to 6 months. And I thought, you know, I had no way of like, I had to go around with an amp probe, a meter, and take all my readings manually. This way I can look at this screen, and it's basically telling me what I need to know for the moment. It's not going to tell me how many amp hours I've collected, you know, how many amp hours I put out. You can get as fancy as you want with these things. This is the basic model. That's the, it just worked out good. Okay, we have the power coming in through this block, comes in, goes into the unit, goes over to the battery. It's hooked up to the battery. Okay, and this kind of like communicates here very simply according to the voltage that's at the battery, what's going to pass. You can even adjust that. You can adjust the voltage that you don't want it to go above. That's important. You don't want to charge it above the, say, I'm going to say 15 volts for the moment. Okay, and right now we're about 78%. We're at 12.5 volts. Nothing going out. We're showing that it's showing that something's coming in, and we got like either 3.3 or 1.3 amps. Okay, these are I right now I can't complain about this. Everyone says MPPT is better and this and that, and it probably is. But you have to. This cost me $185. That one right here. Okay, it's an MPPT. Once I got the new one in, I hooked it up and made sure it worked. Gave it a couple days, and then I decided to just put it away as a spare. Okay, I have inverters of different types. This is the progression of my experiments.
Yeah.
All right. This one's like I'm thinking 750 watts. Okay. I have, like I said, I had the 5,000 watt. It's going to be sitting over here. All right. I had that 300 watt, and the 5,000 watt only has to be used, you know, at times. It's not going to run the house. I don't have enough power to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe someday. Okay. But here we go. We come off of here. All right, and that's 12 volts. It's coming up from the battery, and there's an interconnection between there that you can adjust. You can have it come on 24 hours a day. You can have it come on an hour a day. And it comes over here to this terminal block, and some temporary connections are made right now, but this goes to the LED strip lights that go up the steps on the baseboard to illuminate the floors, the steps. And we have the hookup for the 300 watt inverter, which feeds a light in the hallway and a light in the living room. All right, I'm going to have it to where we have a light in the kitchen, and then we'll have pretty much all the bases, like in a primitive fashion, covered. We're not going to be able to turn on the TVs, all right, DVDs and stuff like that. So what we can do is, now this one right here, this is a Renogy. That's the basic charge controller that came with the starter kit. You get 2 panels, and you get this charge controller. What I'm going to do is, I'm not really going to use that for collecting voltage, but what's neat about it, it's programmable, and you could hook the battery up to it and a circuit that goes out, and you can adjust when that goes on and when it goes off. So I just have that mounted there to get it out of the way, you know, keep it up out of the dust and stuff like that. And you know, that's kind of it as far as the box goes. Now, do you have any questions about this? No.
No.
Okay, what we're going to do is you're going to... This is our combiner fuse box. Basically what it is just a fuse disconnect. It's a manual disconnect, and there's like a 30 amp fuse in the box. We can maybe get into that later, okay? Here, take a look at this on the in the box here, and you get a better shot of it. And these are all in parallel. So I have a 12 volt system here. I'm charging it 12 volts with the maintainer, and I'm utilizing it 12 volts. That's what's most common, off the shelf, cheap. You know, cheap. You know, to start your experiments, you got to start out cheap. There's some people out there that have phenomenal systems. This is right now, it can be expanded, and it can just add to it. You can put more solar panels out there, and you know, bring in more power.
Yeah. So the power from the panels are coming in through this terminal and into the charge controller at 24 volts. So that 24 volts gets reduced down to 12 volts and charges the batteries inside the bank. Now that 12 volts goes through to this terminal and through some temporary connections that we have right now, and it's running this 300 watt inverter. And off of this inverter, we're running some lamps and lights and other small loads of the sort. So when there is little sunlight outside and the charge on the batteries is running low, we recharge them with the battery charger, and this just makes sure that the batteries stay charged up, don't die, so we can keep using them.